Good morning. Good morning. What's happening, world? It's Marquise Martin Hayes, and I am honored to be with you this morning. You know, everything that I do has a simple focus. How do I add value to you and to the world? Because I simply believe that when you're better, you do better. And when you're better, not only do you feel good about your life, but others are able to glean from your life. And so, why not another interview? When I talk about the concept of being visible, what I'm talking about is you showing up. Today's guest is Stephen E. Kuhn, a friend of mine, a gentleman that I met in the clubhouse world a couple years ago, and it was a big, big deal. I didn't meet him because he was a nice person to meet. I actually learned about him through a good friend of mine, Dr. Tangi Brewer, and we were talking about humility and what it means to be a man. She started saying, "Well, don't you know Stephen?" I was like, "No." She's like, "You've got to be kidding me." He was not only on Clubhouse, but on there almost every single day. And she began to describe some of his journey to me and his vulnerability and openness as a man. Now, the difference is it's easy for a man who's not, shall we say, had many accomplishments to easily just express himself potentially. Potentially. We could assume that, shall we say. But Stephen is an accomplished man, military, business, international business, you name it, the list goes on. And he was openly vulnerable before an audience, displaying what it means to be true as a man. And because of that connection and his openness, I sought him out. And our first conversation was like eyes and hearts wide open as men figuring out how to grow and expand. A good buddy of mine, Mr. Aaron Towns, he called me one morning and said, "Hey, bro, do you realize that according to research, only 15% of men have someone they can call in a time of need, emotional or mental need?" And of course, we thanked each other because we had that for one another. But now I also thank Stephen because I can be honest with him, not negative, honest about where I am and where I'm trying to go. And when I'm stuck in the between, and I can walk or he'll walk with me to help unlock. We do what we can to open one another to expand. So without further ado, I'm going to be quiet because this interview is Stephen. And with that, let me bring him on. Good morning, bro. Or good afternoon.
Hey, my friend. How you doing? Good to see you.
Man, it's so good to be here. Thank you for being on this show with me. I really appreciate you. I mean, I don't need to be professional or special in an
Uh,
interview, man. I really appreciate you. Thank you because you give me space.
bro, we did it both. I mean, the first call we had was like, I was like, "Gee, here's a brother." I mean, it's rare.
Yeah,
It really is. I
yeah,
mean, I'm a very easygoing, open guy. I talk to everybody like I've known him for years. It's just the way I am.
yeah.
I don't always get that back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some people are like, "Oh, this guy's like over friendly. What's up with that?" And I'm not. It's not that I'm friendly, but like you
Yeah.
said, I create space. I create space. And
Hmm.
in the book, we talk about it in Unleash Your Humble Alpha about creating space. That's just
Yeah.
showing up for someone. That's just showing up for someone wholly and fully, no preconceived notions, no expectation of a specific outcome. Just add value. That's pretty much
Yeah.
my life mantra, and it works very well.
It's good, man. Well, let's
Yeah.
go there. Let's start with the book. Let's start with the book. Tell us about Unleash Your Humble Alpha and how you got to that and go for it.
Yeah, well, Unleash Humble Alpha I never really, I mean, I've wrote a book before in Germany when I lived in Germany, and it was a bestseller. It was about my time in Iraq. And I thought, okay, well,
Wait. What's the book? Tell me a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit
it's
about
in
that?
German. It's in German. It's called, if I would translate it, would be called Served in the Gulf from Soldier to Cynic. And it's about my journey from a child in Pennsylvania. We call it Pennsyltucky because it was in the central Pennsylvania, which is the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And I lived in a mobile home, had, four fathers and stepfathers by the time I was 18.
Wow.
Abused, punched in the face at 6 years old, gun in my mouth at 14 from the one stepfather. Like really,
Whoa,
like
whoa, 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 wait.
yeah,
You got to slow down because
yeah,
you're sharing such deep truths. I want to make sure
yeah.
people hear that because some of this I'm hearing for the first time, man. Because I
Well,
hadn't read that book.
yeah, I don't really talk about it, but I just some formidable years, I guess you could say. When I was 6, my mother got remarried for the first time, and I kissed him good. The first night he moved into the house after the wedding, which was the next day, I kissed him goodnight on the lips because at 6 years old, that's what I did. I kissed my grandfather.
Understood. At 6, yeah, sure, yeah.
And he punched me in the face and called me a fag. Yeah. and I was 6. Yeah, and that was traumatic. And I never worked on that. Yeah, I never worked on that ever until last year in 2021 when my second wife left me. That's when it came up, you know. And then when I was older, she got remarried again. I think 2 more times, and number 3 or number 4 was a drunk. He would come home late at night, beating us and stuff. And one night I stood up to him. I said, "I'm tired of you beating us," because I realized he was this tall. And I was like, "Wait a second, I'm twin brother. Like, what's going? Why are we scared of this guy?"
Right.
He pulled a gun out and stuck it in my mouth and pushed my head on it. And I was at the point I was like, "I don't care, do it." And that was my one of the reasons for wanting to get into the military, just to leave, like my ticket out. I joined the military. And I was held back in 3rd grade, so I was 19 when I went in the military, not 18. Stepfather number 2 held me back because I wasn't wearing my glasses in school like I was supposed to, because it was embarrassing. So the teacher said, you know, he's not wearing it. Okay, good, then hold him back. And just shit like that. And what it does though, it's called chaos kids, right? Kids that grow up like that were called chaos kids. Yeah, there's actually a terminology for that. And what that means is chaos kids. If you look at just about any kid and any successful person, millionaires, billionaires, most of them were chaos kids. Why? Because when we're growing up, your mom gets remarried, your dad gets remarried, you move from house to house or place to place. You're never getting the attention that you want to get as a kid. So you're trying really hard to do the right thing, which usually ends up being the wrong thing, right? And the more you try, the more you try, the more frustrated you get, the more louder you get, the more disruptive you get. But that carries through to your professional life, where you just keep going. You want to be better. You want to be better than everybody else.
We're just big kids anyway.
You want to accomplish better. I remember I walked into an interview in Berlin, Germany. I had at the time, I think, 2 cocktail bars, and this corporation wanted to hire me, and I was like, I don't need this job. So I went in there and I said, look. They said, "Why should we choose you?" And I said, "Because whatever you give me for a target, I'm going to crush it. And you give me the record that this company's ever done in revenue, and I'll overachieve that." And they're like, "That's bold." I said, "If I don't do it, you don't have to pay me." Like that's how confident I am. And that's me challenging myself. Like, oh yeah, you want to challenge me? Tell me I can't do it. Tell me I can't do it, and I will do it. And I did it. And I did. And they hired me, and I did it. And I did it. And I got headhunted from another company in the UK. I said the same thing, and I did it again. You know, so that all comes from that chaos kid wanting that attention, wanting to get love and vying for attention. You know, so as damaging as it can be as a kid, it can be beneficial when you're, when you're older. So anyway, I joined the military, and you got to realize I hated myself when I was a kid because I was always kept down. You know, we were always beat down and stuff. And I drank and did some weed and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And just to try to fit in, and I never fit in. I was always a loner. I'm still a loner to this day, believe it or not. And
I'm a loner. I get it.
Yeah. And so I joined the military, and I was in boot camp, and I didn't fit in, man. I was out of shape. I didn't. And one of the formidable moments of my life to this day was in boot camp, running through the obstacle course. And we came up upon this wall that was leaning at you like this with no rope. It was 2 meters high.
Oh, leaning at you. Okay.
Yeah, like 7 feet high, leaning at you.
Climb back up this way.
Yeah. And there was no step. It was just a wall. And I couldn't get over it. Like, I could not get over that. I had no upper body strength. Yeah. And if you can believe it, it's like, I had no upper body strength. You do now. Yeah. And the drill sergeant threw me down in the mud and sort of stepped on my neck and called me every name in the book. Talked about my mom, talked about my family. And I got so upset, tears streaming down my face. I jumped up and with one hand fail swoop over that wall. And I landed on the other side. Wow. I know. And on the other side, I was like, it was like angels, music. And I was like, holy shit. It was me the whole time. I didn't believe I could do it. And that's when I realized at 19 years old, that my mind is more powerful than my body. And from that point on, everything I did, I said, man, this looks impossible. And that's why I'm going to do it.
So you didn't read a book. You didn't go to a seminar. It was a foot on your neck and words that made no sense. Maybe some of them true even.
Yeah.
And it just pissed you off enough.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, and it changed my life forever, man. It really did. And from that point on, I was a different person. I mean, I remember there's these poles. They have telephone poles sticking out of the ground, right? An obstacle course,
Okay.
and they have it goes higher and they get further apart as it goes higher.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're supposed to hop from one to the other, and you're way up here, like 7-8 feet in the air. And I was scared shitless, and I said, "No, I got this." And I just went ding, 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 and just walked all the way across. And everybody's like, and I didn't.
That's after this, right?
Yeah.
So my tailor Paul, he's online. What's up, Paul? He's out of Thailand. Amazing man, amazing tailor. But we'll get back to that in a minute. So the moment here, woof, and because of whatever's transitioned or popped and opened in your mind, then that other element in the obstacle course was like, I'm scared, but whatever.
Yeah. And well, it's because it's sort of like when you realize something about yourself, or you have a great moment where you just feel like all powerful and unstoppable. That's what it felt like. And I can tap into that most of the time. I can really tap into that if I need. Recently,
what would you say? No, you got me intrigued. Do you know what that secret is? Of how you're able to go from here, or that energy, that's have you been able to quantify and describe your ability to do that?
No, I haven't, and that's actually a great idea. That's funny because the book was actually an attempt at that. But if you want to get down to the micro version of it, I haven't really deciphered. That'd be something I'd really be interested in, because that's a tool.
You got to. It's
huge. Years later, years later, I've used it for years. I sort of tap into it when it's almost like a meditative state. I remember the feelings that I had. I remember the energy that I had at that moment, and I sort of try to tap into that. And through the years, I lived in Germany. I got out of the military after 7 years, stayed in Germany, got married to a Turkish girl. And that lasted for about 10 years. In those 10 years, I worked for the corporation, had 3 cocktail bars, a nightclub, insurance company, construction company. I was like the ultra entrepreneur, man. I just went nuts.
Wow.
And I made a shit ton of money, traveled the world, ruined my marriage. We split up. I stayed in Germany for another 8 years, traveling around Europe and building just my own personal brand kind of thing. Got my MBA in the UK. Did all that stuff you're supposed to do that everyone says you're supposed to do. Took over a joint venture between an American NASDAQ listed company and a British stock market company. Did that joint venture in Chicago for 9 months. And then I got a position or a contract in Budapest, moved there, took that company, met another woman, married her, and had 2 kids. And that was 2009. And then she left me in 2021. Now I live in Turkey because I met a girl a year ago who I married almost immediately, who's Ukrainian, and we live here in Turkey. So all of these things that I went through always led me to making concessions. So you're always like, okay, okay, well, it can't be that bad. Okay, she's great, or she said this, or he said that, and that doesn't matter because I'm me and I can all that kind of stuff. Well, it doesn't, man. Your surroundings matter more than anything.
Say more about that, because we think concessions are like, when is it? Say more about how your relationship with concessions, right? Because sometimes we think, well, we have to do this, but maybe not that, and trying to sort through it. And that's something that I found interesting, particularly in relationships, because my thing lately has been, it's important to know what your non-negotiables are. And it shouldn't be more than like 5. If you got more than 5 non-negotiables, you're really not trying to be in a relationship, because no one is you, right? Well, and we have this delusional state sometimes. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, let's wind it back to 2008. 2008, I had just lost everything for the second time. My book had come out in 2003, and I did some stuff. And anyway, I was in a really bad relationship. A woman who treated me worse than anyone's ever treated me in my life, and I stayed with her because I, as a chaos kid, wanted to fix it. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to make it right. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to prove to myself that I can make this work. And she just beat the hell out of me. And we were in the car one time, and she called me all kinds of names, and I told her to get out. And she was with her daughter, who was 9 years old. And it was in the middle of the city, so it wasn't like she was in the middle of nowhere in Berlin.
Right.
She got out. I hit the gas and just took off. And literally 100 meters down the road, I was speeding, going like 90 in a 30 zone. And the cops were there. A whole bunch of cops. They had this like what they call a mousetrap, right, in Germany. And so they stopped. You got to realize I was 136 kilos, which is like 260 pounds, just massive. And I get out of this car, I'm crying. The cops are like, whoa, 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 what's going on? What's going on?
I'm glad you were crying.
I lost it. I lost my mind. And I was just defeated, completely defeated. So we're standing there, and it was only 100 meters. So she comes walking up with her daughter and starts saying he's a war criminal. He murdered people. And I was like, what?
Dude,
and it just, that set me off. That set me over the edge. And there was a police officer standing beside me, a little, like a trainee female police officer standing beside me. And I was in a daze, and I sort of looked around, and I looked down, and I saw her pistol in her holster. So I just reached down and unsnapped it and grabbed her pistol. And my girlfriend at the time said, do it. And, do it. Pull the trigger. And this little police officer took my hand, put the gun back in her holster, turned to me and said, I know you, Steve, and this isn't you. And I was like that was
man.
More powerful than a club to the head. That was more powerful than
threatening to be
shot. Because if I'd have been threatened to be shot, I'd be like, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. Shoot me.
Right, yeah, exactly. That would have been an issue.
But she said, I know you, Stephen, this isn't you. And that shocked me. And the cops didn't do anything. Contrary to popular belief, German police are probably the most social police that I've ever met. They're very calm.
I've never had a problem.
Yeah, 98% of all police officers in their 30 to 35-year career never even pull their gun out of their holster in Germany.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, so they really helped me. They tackled her, took her around the back, put me in a van, let me sit there, and I was in the van. I was ready to go. I'm like, I don't need this shit. Anyway.
Wait, so the officer knew you?
I didn't know why or how. Yes, I'll tell you a story of how it happened.
And I mean, that's all that matters, because that chaos kid, I need to be seen. I need to be seen. See me. And in a life-threatening moment, this acknowledgement. This is good, man. This is so damn good. This is so good. Because we don't know when we are the officer. Because so often we're in our own chaos, trying to survive, that we don't know when we're the officer for someone else, which is a very interesting dichotomy, because we're needing to be seen, but we might be that answer for someone else.
I never thought of it that way before. You're absolutely
That's incredible, man. I have a question for you. I want you to continue. You can pick up where you are. But at some point, I can't wait to hear you describe from soldier to cynic, because I would have thought you would have been a cynic on the front side.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, forgive me, this new Apple thing, it does hand signals. I haven't figured out
no idea.
How it works yet. So you're going to probably see balloons at some point when I do my fingers like this.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. But go for it. I'm listening.
Well, after that, they sent me home, and at the time I was homeless. I was living with her sometimes, and otherwise I was living in my car, which was a smart car. The little mini, smart Mercedes smart cars.
Wait, how tall are you, bro?
6'4".
I was like, I thought we haven't connected in person, but I know you're tall. I'm like, wait, smart car? That's like.
They're actually very, very, because it's just two front seats. That's all it is. There's no back seat. It's like
that's right.
When you're sitting there, your head's like this far from the back window, so you have a lot of room. Anyway, so I would sleep in my car, and I had an apartment, but I couldn't afford it, and because I'd lost everything, and I was renting it out to a friend. All my stuff was still in there, all this kind of stuff. And I went to the apartment, like, dude, I need some time alone. I need to be here. He's like, okay, I gotta go to work anyway. So he left. I went into the closet, and I got out my uniform, my military uniform, hung it up, put a picture of myself in uniform underneath it. And to that point, my only identity that meant anything to me was a soldier, a fighter, a warrior.
Okay.
And so that's why I hung these up, like, okay, this is it. And I pulled out what they call a K-bar, which is a military, U.S. Marine knife, which you can split a hair 6 times with. That's how sharp it is. And I took it and put it to my neck. And as soon as it touched my neck, there was a knock on the door. And I was like, I'm gonna even kill myself, man. You know, like, what the hell?
What kind of failure am I?
Damn it. You know? So I go to the door.
Really hard.
Yeah. And so I go to the door and I open up. I'm like, what? And I have this knife in my hand. And it was that police officer, that girl. Yeah. And she came in and she put my hand down like this again, led me into my own living room like she's been there before, sat me down and said, look, Stephen, I know you. I was at one of your book readings from my book, you know, the Cynic book. And you're an amazing man.
Wow.
She said, you're going to change the world. Believe in it. Believe me, it's going to happen. And have faith and continue on. And I was like, I was just shocked. And she got up and gave me the German kiss, bussy, bussy, walked out. And I'm standing there and I'm going, man, did that really just happen? And then I said, I don't even want to look out the door to see if she's there or not. Because if it was real, if it wasn't real, it didn't matter to me. So I still felt very, very scared that I wasn't going to be safe. So I called my friend Michael Alios Wagner from Austria. And I said, brother, if you don't come and get me, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. And he sent plane tickets. And I flew to Austria. And he took me and dumped me into literally like said, get out, go in there. They're waiting for you. It was a Benedictine monastery in the mountains of Austria in the middle of nowhere. And I spent many months there recovering and finding out who I was and just having no cell phone, no laptop, didn't pay bills, didn't tell anybody where I was except for my mom. Nobody knew anything about me. And you know what the biggest impact that I had from that entire, I guess it was 8 months, is when I went back to Berlin, no one even noticed I was gone. 8 months.
Wow.
And you got to realize I had cocktail bars, clubs. I was on TV. I was a best-selling author.
You were running a part of Berlin. That's right.
At that time, we had 87 health clubs. I mean, like everybody knew me. But when I disappeared, no one even realized it. And that was a wake-up call for me. And that's when I gave up. You got to realize. So this is the deal. Marquis, you got to realize. Wait a second.
Big deal.
Check this out. Up to that point, every weekend, I was in Paris. I was in Geneva, Zurich with a duchess from the German royal family who I was dating at the time. We did, before the toxic woman. And I was in politics. I met Kofi Annan, Bill Clinton, George Bush. I met them all at all these balls because she was the highest royal, and we had to open the ball with the waltz every time. So I was in this high society, this whole world where I was in the magazines in Germany, in the backside in the social section, businessman, American Kuhn, American with the Duchess,
Yeah.
And after that monastery, and I found out when I came back that no one noticed I was gone, I gave it all up and I left. And that's when I went to Hungary and started over from zero.
All right.
No one knew me.
Before you continue that, you're just dropping so many nuggets, man. Because most of us live this BS life where we got to do all these things, and you did it at the highest level. Came back, no one even knew you were gone.
I know.
There's a stat that you're really identifying that I'm hearing, because this is part of my heart's work more recently here. According to Harvard Business Review, only 15% of people are aware of their personal brand, who they are, why they do what they do, their values, essentially what they contribute. Not the BS crap about what somebody else thinks about you. No, what do you think about you? Only 15% of people are aware, and only 5% live it, which means 95% of us are fake, phony, and doing all this bull crap to try to be seen and heard, thinking we're the ish, when basically no one even cares. You were gone 8 months.
Yeah.
And you were the man.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. I was on TV. I did TV I was an MTV VJ.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I was a guest. I was a guest. Yeah, I was a guest.
Okay?
I was a guest VJ on German MTV. I did country music.
No way.
Yeah, I did every talk show, every news show. I was a co-anchor. I was I did all that, and I was American speaking, an accented
So it was
German.
a big deal.
They loved it, yeah, and so everyone knew me. And matter of fact, when I took over, after being homeless, after getting out of the monastery, I went back into the club scene as what they call a Selekteur. And the Selekteur is someone who stands at the front of the door in a suit and tie, and it's just the coordinator, the concierge, the man that welcomes people, the sunny face, not the killer bodyguards or anything like that. And that's what I did. And
charming gentleman invite you in.
And I'd be like, hey, welcome. Good to see you again. Come on the front. You know, I loved that role. And everyone knew me. Everyone knew me. Right. And people, for a lot of friends of mine who knew me when I was with the Duchess and going to these balls and everything, wearing a tuxedo and smoking and all this kind of stuff. You know, smoking is a tuxedo in German. Sorry. And
okay. I was thinking a smoking jacket.
Yeah, smoking jacket. Exactly. Yeah. So I wore all this stuff. I still have all that shit. And there I was standing at a door of a club. And friends of mine were like, hey, man, you going into the club? I'm like, no, I'm working here. They're like, what? What are you talking? What are you doing? What? You work at a club?
You own the club. What are you like? You run the club.
Well, at the time, I didn't own that club, but you know,
but they were thinking it, right? Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And they were embarrassed, and I was like, man, this really showed me my friends even more. But I had a blast there until I got in an argument with the underworld, and they broke like every part of my body, including my eye socket, separated my retina. Yeah. And I didn't fight. I didn't fight anymore. I fought in the 90s when I got out of the Army when I had my PTSD flare-ups. I had about 100 street fights back in the 90s. Early
MMA before MMA?
This was before MMA. Yeah. It was like at the front of a club, in a restaurant. It didn't matter. In the past, it didn't matter. I was just fighting all the time. It was horrible. And I was big. It's like I said, I was like 260 pounds. So everybody wanted to mess with me.
At 6'4".
Yeah. And they're like, oh, this guy's an Iraq veteran. He thinks he's tough and that kind of stuff. And I said, yeah, I am tough. You know, like one of those guys. I'm skipping around a lot. I'm sorry, but it's just.
It's all, there's nothing. This is your story. This is your time, bro.
You know, well, look, the book.
It's all good.
Let's get to the book real quick.
Yeah. Well, before we do Humble, Soldier to Cynic.
Soldier to Cynic, yeah. Well, Soldier to Cynic, I didn't know that I had a book in me. And what happened is when my first wife, that's a whole other story in itself. I was in Chicago doing that job. I got a call. She had an accident, right? And I'm like, what? So I flew home to Berlin. She was in the hospital with three broken vertebrae, laying there looking like shit. And I was like, what happened? And she's looking at me, guilt-ridden. And I'm looking around. I'm going like, why does she look like she's guilty? And I looked around across the hallway. I saw a buddy of mine who was an American soldier, also a civilian, also in a bed. And I was like, what happened? And she looked down. I said, are you kidding me? So she was having an affair and they had an accident. And in that moment, for the first time and the last time in my life, love shut off. I literally felt a click in my heart, went click. And it just, everything I had for her died in that very second.
Yeah.
And so when
you're a better man than me, because that would have been a street fight. Like in that moment.
The guy was cut from his ankle all the way up to his hip, so I couldn't even get near him. Anyway, and at the time, I had just came back from Chicago. Like I said, it was my last gig there, and I had a new contract with that company to take over Germany, and they terminated that very next day. They terminated my contract because they tricked me. They signed me a new contract and said, "Oh, you have a 6-month probation. We're gonna get rid of you now." After I just built the entire Chicago business, and
sounds like Chicago.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Sounds like gangster world.
Yeah. And so that was a corporation from the UK, believe it or not, and a listed company.
Oh, the UK corporation you built it and then snatched it.
Right. So
also not surprising. People,
whatever. And I'm sitting there, wife gone.
The cynic.
Wife gone, job gone, and I lost a bunch of money too in an apartment deal gone south. And I'm sitting there in my apartment one day, and I had some friends over. I'll never forget her name was Maria, and she worked for the TV station. And she said, "Man, you need to write a book." I'm like, "Who the hell is going to listen to me?" And I said, "Well, I got the shoebox of notes that I used to take, right? Mm-hmm. When I was in my bar before it got busy, I would take notes. Every time I was sitting there, it was slow. I would start writing my thoughts about the war. Mm-hmm. And I had all these little pieces of paper with notes and like hundreds of them. And she started reading and said, "Holy shit, you need to publish this." I was like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So I wrote a 1-page synopsis of all my notes. I sent it to about 6 or 7 publishers, and one of them, which was like literally 20 minutes from my house, said, "Yeah, we'd love to do an interview with you with the daily newspaper first to see if it picks up, and if it does, then
that's really cool."
Yeah, and so I said, "Okay." So this guy shows up, Frank Nordhausen, right? He's the one of the 69ers they call, they're 68ers they call him, is like one of the rebels from the 60s in Germany, right?
Okay. Okay.
So he's like really cool. He's like, what? He looked at me. He's like, seriously, you're 30, whatever it was, 32 years old, 33 years old. What stories do you got? This guy's like 60. I said, well, I don't know. I said, I don't know.
The old school mentality. You don't know nothing yet, young fella.
And I'm like, I don't know. Let's talk. And after 15 minutes, he was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And he started writing it all down. It came out about a week later in the newspaper. Now, when you have a full-size newspaper, the most important page is page 3. Because when you open up the first page, it's right there, right? The cover is the cover. It's all like all this shit on the cover. You open the third page, typically the third page is one article.
Okay, and that article I didn't know that.
Yeah, that one article was Sergeant Kuhn, which is my last name, Sergeant Kuhn's Private War. And that came out the day the war started in Iraq. Wow. So you can imagine what happened. The very next day, I was on a talk show. The very next day, I was on a talk show with Sir Peter Ustinov, the American ambassador to Germany, the British ambassador to Germany, Peter Maffei, like all these famous people. And I'm sitting in this round table, and they're talking about war in Iraq, what's going on. And every single person there, even the ambassador, said, look, if you want firsthand knowledge, talk to Mr. Kuhn. He's the only one here that went to battle. Wow. And then my book went to an immediate bestseller, and it wasn't even written. It wasn't even written yet. So they were selling it. They were selling my book, and it wasn't even written yet. They had a cover, and that was it. It was hilarious. And so
I think the publishing company was okay with that.
Yeah, but it was a very small publishing company. But yeah, it was. They were blown away. But they made some mistakes, which cost me about $50,000 later. But anyway, it was a good experience for me to be on TV for about a year. And matter of fact, I was on TV so much they started uninviting me. Like, oh, everyone knows who you are. We need new people. I was the only American combat veteran who fought in a war, who actually fought in a war. I have a Bronze Star, and I spoke German. And so, like, there was no else, So, yeah.
Wow. And, okay. Keep going. Nope. Keep going. You're good.
That was that book, and then that carried me for a while. And I had the crash, and then I had the monastery, and then I got out, and I went to Budapest, and had all that stuff going on. And I started writing the book about 3 years ago, and it wasn't even like really for a book, because what I realized was the older I got, the more I saw things repeating themselves in my life.
Okay.
Like I kept failing, at different things, but for the same reason. And then my relationships would fail for sort of like the same things. And I said, I need to figure this out. So I started writing.
Right.
And then I started talking about it. Because for me, I did the same thing for my soldier book. As I talked to Frank, and he just wrote it down.
Yeah.
And then we edited it. And then we went through again.
Yeah.
And so we did with my co-author, Lane, we did about
Wait, 20. You're getting ready to move to Humble Alpha. Before you do it.
Yeah.
I'm still curious. Soldier to Cynic. Why did you give it that?
Okay, so this is what happened. So when I was in Iraq, we were on the front lines. Matter of fact, we were so far front that if we were 100 meters in front of us, we'd have been Iraqi. And so I saw everything. I lost my friend, Sergeant Young M. Dillon. He was in my arms when he died. It was brutal. There was a lot of stuff I saw that I didn't want to see the notions. That's war, I guess. And as a young man, you push it back, you push it away. You can't acknowledge it because you're in battle. But when it came to the civilians, it wasn't so easy. And I was standing at a checkpoint on Highway 8 right outside of Basra, and Basra was burning at the time, right? So if a lot of people don't remember that President Bush Sr. said to the Shiites in Basra, perform an uprising against the Ba'ath Party, which was Saddam Hussein, and we'll come and support you. And that's why we were there in Basra. Well, they started the uprising, and we were told to stand down and not help. So they got massacred. They got completely massacred. I'm talking just horrible, horrible things happening. And these people started walking through the desert 20 kilometers coming to our checkpoint. So one time, and far away, I see this pink dot coming. And as it gets closer, I see it's a woman and a little girl walking like this with pink dress on. Turns out she was burned from head to toe, and that pink dress was covering up the clothes that were burned into her skin. And this little girl came, and I sent her to the medics, which was a little tent. They bandaged her up and brought her back out, and we couldn't help them. you weren't allowed, to help because they weren't combatants. And before we sent her back into the desert, which was heartbreaking, I said, I got to do something, man. So I took in my grenade pockets, I had butterscotch candy that my aunt Boots would send. And I said, come here. And I got on my knee and I gave her this little candy. And she smiled. And I was like, I'm complaining because it's too hot here. I'm complaining because I'm wearing everything I have that protects me, and she's just this little girl burnt, and she's smiling for a piece of candy, and it just fucking crushed me, man. It really crushed me. It was the hardest thing I ever had to see, and that's why I became a cynic. That's why I became a cynic. Before that, I was on the battlefield, and once you're done with the battle, you comb the battlefield. Right? You look for survivors. And we were combing the battlefield, and I saw these 2 fallen Iraqis, but I didn't really look at them. But something glittered in the sun, and I looked over it. It was a ring on his finger, on the one guy's finger. And I got a picture in my mind of his wife and kids waiting for him with flowers. It was in the middle of the battlefield. I get this picture in my head, and that's what turned me to a cynic as well. Because I realized, who the hell was I to do anything like this to anybody for any reason? It's hard to face yourself when you do the things you do in the name of what you thought was right. And now it's a different story. I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe in tyranny. I don't believe in tyranny either. And that's why I became a cynic. And I just couldn't stand it when people are out there. Let's make it into a parking lot, bomb the whole country. It's like, you don't know shit about what you're talking about, man. You didn't meet the little girls, and you didn't meet the little guys, and you didn't meet the women that were out there living in bombed out powerhouses in the middle of the freaking desert, eating potato chips that they could only get from us because there was no food.
Dude, you have me. Believe me. The fact that we don't even know why. We're just doing it because an order was given. Believing something that you don't even believe. This goes back to why knowing who the hell you are is such a big deal.
Well, that's what the military does. Don't forget. The military, what the military does is they tear you down in boot camp and they build you back up with a new identity as a soldier. That's why they do boot camp. That's what boot camp is. It's a reprogram.
You brought something else up to me that I have a very interesting question for my mother. That's why I lived in Germany. My mother was in the army. But at one point, my mother was a drill sergeant. So I need to have some heart-to-heart with her to understand her world of being a drill sergeant and find out how much of that carried over into my upbringing. I'm curious.
I guarantee you.
There's definitely a correlation.
100%, because her identity was soldier, was drill sergeant. There's no other way to do it. You can't.
And she was 27 years.
Yeah.
Decorated soldier, so I applaud her. At the same time, hold on.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
I love you, man. We're not getting off. I just needed to connect with that.
Yeah.
Because so many of us are doing this crap just because.
Look,
we're not present.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know where presence comes from? It comes from being present. And a lot of people are like, why doesn't anybody notice me? Why don't they? Because you're like this. Be present with the person in front of you. Create space for that person in front of you. You will be present and show presence. And people will be like, wow, that person's listening to me. Not looking over my shoulder, not looking to see who's next and what's coming on. What are my other opportunities? You and me right here, and that's it. Right?
Yeah. Or what can I get? Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. What's in it for me? And that's where that no preconceived notion or expectation of a specific outcome comes in mind. Like when we sit together, maybe I do want something, but I'm not going to try to. I will tell you straight up if I want something, and we can agree on it or not. But there's no expectation. It's just me talking, right? It's just us dialogue. That's the difference between, okay, I need to do a sales call, manipulate this person using NLP to make sure that they feel like this and that. Bullshit. It works.
All bullshit.
It works, but it's bullshit. It's not authentic. It's not real. It's not you. If you got to use NLP, that's not you.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Just
great skill and technique, but not the same as being authentic and present.
Exactly. Well, the hard thing about being authentic is your identity. Like most people don't know who they are, and a lot of what they do.
You can't even be authentic.
Well, you heard of it, right? Like, well, you know who I am. I'm the CEO. I had a call the other day. He's like, you know who you're talking to? I'm the CEO. Yeah, you know.
Get this stuff so I can get that emoji to work now. Right. It's like you're not an CEO. I mean, your title, your work, who cares? They fire you tomorrow, then what are you?
Yeah.
Which is CEO, why we do this stupid shit, like jump off buildings and all this other crap. Or the children left and now I don't know who I am. Or now we don't have a marriage, we're going to get a divorce. Wait, who were you before?
Yeah.
So many of us live in this BS title world image with no sense of reality.
Okay, because we're taught that by society, especially now, identity politics.
Yeah.
You know, color, gender, race, creed, all that. So let's not get into that, but it's a program.
Yeah, I get it.
And so
it's effective in keeping us divided. Exactly.
That's all it's about. Because a united society is dangerous to anybody in power.
Absolutely.
So check it out. The identity phase of our book, which is chapter 1, Unleash Your Humble Alpha. Okay. That's what you come out. So
let's go there.
For an example, the first chapter, you will find out who you are. And what that means is, just as an example, we come out with this identity statement and a 2-word moniker, right? Okay. And if you really want to go for it, then you come up with a life mission. My life mission is creating radiant value to elevate others to a higher frequency. Now, it sounds like all but that's really how I think. Like, I want to create ripple effect value on this call right now, right?
Yep.
And maybe it'll elevate others to a higher frequency. That's all I care. That's all I care about. Yep. That's my life mission. My 2-word moniker or my identity is powerful connector. Now, your identity changes over the years as you change, but it's powerful connector. And if someone says to you, what does that mean, powerful connector? Well, powerful connector means that I make money, most of my money from connecting people. So I have clients. I'm a mentor for men between 25 and 35. I take other clients, but mostly between 25 and 35. And I help them not only develop so that they can collapse time and grow quicker, grow the company quicker, more revenue, more power, presence, and talent, but I connect them with my network for jobs, contracts, partnerships, joint ventures, collaborations. And so I'm always connecting people, and I inject power into that by accompanying the journey between the two parties. So I don't just make an introduction and walk away. I make an introduction, and we have a solar deal here in Turkey now, and we're in contact every day, even though we're not doing any of the work. We're just keeping everybody together, keeping them aligned, keeping it going, and injecting power into that relationship so both parties are happy, right? And once I realized that that's my identity, I focused on only that, and that's where everything just took off. Right. So that's why the identity is so important. It just allows you to be who you are, man. It just allows, without any thought of trying to be what I could give a damn about what people think about me. This is who I am. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to do things that will hurt people, be rude, or
right. It doesn't mean that at all.
No, it doesn't. It just means, look, take me as I am. If you don't take me as I am, then that's too bad for you, because I'm a pretty cool guy.
I think so. It's so interesting. The work I'm doing, the rest of my life, is centered around, or it's refined, right? So my whole deal is I help people discover how amazing they already are by removing the barriers, emotional, mental, physical, which are all basically lies, right? It's a detachment from the truth of who you are and what you're capable of. That's what I do. That's my deal. But I feel like for the next 10 years, a lot of my focus will be around helping people unlock their, I hate the term personal brand because it's always thinking outward, but I really want the inward game. It's this inward game that I'm going for, because until you get the inward, the outward is all bull. It's all bull. And that bull only continues to lead to falling, to harming somebody else, to emptiness, to brokenness. That leaves you in that vicious cycle that you were describing. We are all chaos kids growing up in a capitalistic society, because it's always about take. And if I don't take, then you don't
Well,
anyway.
It's important. It's important that we are. Look, the reason the book was so important for me, The Humble Alpha, it was nothing more, but it was very paramount for the rest of my life. Why? Because I articulated my life, the highs and the lows, the patterns that I saw. I gave those patterns a model, a name, and now I can not only teach that, but I can live it more effectively. So we have 5 models. We have HIT, which is the most important thing. Honesty, integrity, and transparency. Honesty with yourself, why you do, say, and think like you do. Transparency is how you step into the world with that honesty, and that's your ongoing reputation, which makes you authentic. Authenticity allows you to dictate your market value. That's just HIT right there. Honesty with yourself. It doesn't matter about honesty with anybody else unless you're honest with yourself, right?
You can't be.
Like you said, focus inward. If you're honest with yourself, everything else falls in place. That's hit. Then you have creating space, which I've already explained, and then we have life enterprise, investing in your life enterprise, and you're the CEO of your own life enterprise, just like a CEO of a business enterprise. You answer to two groups of people: board of directors and the shareholders, right? And how do you do that? You make sure the company's running healthy. You make sure your life is running healthy. Your family's taken care of. Everyone's happy. That kind of stuff. So if you treat your life like an enterprise and you treat your family like the board of directors and all of the friends like—
Slow down, repeat that, because I was going to ask that question.
Okay.
Give me that again, because I'm looking at the CEO of Marquise, as well as Visible and other stuff I'm working on. Slow that down one more time.
Okay, so I'm the CEO of my own life enterprise. And I answer to two groups of people, just like a CEO of a business enterprise. The board of directors and the shareholders or stakeholders. One of the words, right? The board of directors in our life is our family. Right? They're the ones who have to give permission and you have to work with like this. The shareholders you answer to. So all the employees and all the collaborations and all the partners, your board of directors is going to help you make the right decisions when you treat them right, when you report to them right, when you include them in the decision-making processes. Right? So it's the same thing as when you're in business. You can't just work independently as a CEO. The board of directors is behind you. Yeah.
That's right.
And you have a massive responsibility to the shareholders, and the board will axe your ass in 2 seconds if you screw it up. So treat your life like that. You're the CEO, man. You have a lot of responsibility, right? So how do you do that? You do that by investing. You invest in relational capital. It's the only investment where you're guaranteed a return.
That's right.
Investing in relational capital. And that means leaving others in a better place than when you met them. And that could be the cashier at the grocery store. That could be your mom when you meet her again after a year. That could be anybody that you meet, period. You always, in every situation, even my wife, when she leaves the house, I want to leave her in a better place than when we woke up this morning. So you saw what I did. My wife said goodbye. I kissed her, made some jokes, hugged her, and told her I love her, and said, come back soon. Can't wait to see you. And that just makes you feel like she's going out into the world powerfully.
Yep.
You know?
She's blessed on her way out. I like that.
Yes. So, unfortunately, we only have 10 minutes left, but because I have a hard stop, I have an accountability call coming up. But
let's talk about what you're on now.
The book itself just brings you to the most powerful version of yourself, and it turns you into an automatic epic leader, because leadership is nothing more than leading yourself. Leaders don't have to turn around to see if anybody's following them, because it has no condition on what they're doing. If you're a leader, you do what you're doing because you're a leader, not because people are following you. Right?
You're not doing it for someone. You're doing it because that's what you do.
So you don't need to turn around and look to see if anybody's following you. You do it if people follow you. Great. I'll give you an example. I was when I took over that Selektura club, Selektura on the club in Berlin. We were on the 20th floor, overlooking all of Berlin, windows from floor to the ceiling, absolutely beautiful. See the whole city. And before every shift at night started at 10 o'clock at night until 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I would sit down at this window and meditate, looking out of the window, right?
Yeah.
And I would picture this stuff. And this guy came up to me, a Turkish guy, a Muslim, and he's like, "What are you doing, man?" I said, "I'm meditating." He goes, "Can you teach me how?" And I could teach meditation in about 2 minutes. It's real easy. So I sat him down, and after we were meditated, after like 15 minutes, he's like, "My God, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. What happened?" And within 2 weeks, I had the entire staff sitting with me every time before the shift. I didn't look, I didn't ask, I didn't call, I didn't say, "Hey, come check it out." Nothing. I just did. I owned it. I owned my presence. I owned who I was, and I owned my processes. And when you do that, you create followers automatically.
Yeah. Can you do me a quick favor?
Yeah.
Can you teach us meditation in 2 minutes? It's a really big deal. It's recently drastically transformed my life.
Yes. Well, it's going to be, it'll work for someone and it won't work for some right now. So you got to
understood.
Typically I play a little music, like, I don't know, Deuter or something. And well, let's do it. Let's do it. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Let's do it. All right,
so Deuter, I have it in 2 seconds. So it's something I learned a long time ago. I used to do this in the corporate world and people would be blown away. Here we go. One of my favorites.
So good.
You hear that? Okay. So, everyone, if you close your eyes and you listen to the music, let it go inside of you Feel the vibrations going through you. Whatever you see, don't question it. Whatever you feel, don't question it. Just follow it. You are an observer. That's all you are right now. You have no control. Just observe. Now wait. Make a mental note. What color is your next thought? Another mental note. What size is your next thought? Feel the vibrations. Let go. Relax. This frequency is going through your body right now, relaxing every cell of your body. All right, open your eyes. Now, I got two questions for you.
Okay.
What happened? First of all, what color and what size did you come up with?
I saw like a blue pink. I didn't have a single color.
Okay.
And I saw large.
Large. Okay. So what happened between the time that I asked you that question and you saw the colors?
I'm not 100% sure. I was trying to relax more. I may have failed in my meditation today.
No, what happened? Between I asked the question and then you saw the color. Was there a time period difference? Was there a space of time? What happened?
I felt like it was, so I had an image, like I saw like two colors, and then I felt like it went dark, and then a new image, like as I held it, and then it felt, I don't think you said anything. I felt like it started.
Between when I asked the question and when you saw the color, was there a time difference?
Very minute.
Okay.
From what I can recall.
That minute second, 2 seconds, when you're in meditation, it's like a minute, basically, it feels like. It's like when you're dreaming, 30 seconds feels like an hour.
Yeah.
When I asked the question, you typically, and you did, I guarantee you, stop thinking at all, and you were waiting for an answer. You were waiting, you were looking, you were receiving.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. Like, what color is it?
So that receiving, that moment where you stop thinking and you started to receive is meditation. That's meditation. That in that very moment, that's meditation. That's the deepest part of meditation, is where you sit there and you're receiving. You're not judging, you're not looking, you're not trying to put a title to it or nothing. You're just receiving. Then you can acknowledge it. Same thing with the size. So I did it again. And so far you have a color in your mind, and now all of a sudden I say, what size is it? And you're like, oh, you got to take another pause, and you got to look at it, and you got to observe and receive it. Oh, it's a big one. That's meditation. And so when I teach meditation and we're sitting in front of somewhere, we're doing something, I say, close your eyes and follow it like you're following a star. And it doesn't matter what's happening to that star. You're behind it. You can't influence it. You can't steer it. You can't do anything. You have to follow that star. And it just allows you to be passive and just be a passenger.
Yeah.
Right? And you see things, beautiful things, and you recognize things, and you open up and that kind of stuff. So that's the beginning. That's the kernel. That's the seed planted for meditation right there.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I want to spend this next 6 minutes. What are you doing now, and how are you helping the world, and how can people get more time or more direct input from you?
Yeah. Well, right now, I'm actually focused on men between 25 and 35 years old. And the reason for that is because out of all the clients that I've worked with, and there's been thousands of people that I've trained over my 25 years in business, is they are hungry, they are relentless, they take orders or they take direction better than older people who have more experience, and they want to win. They want to win. They want to crush it. And what I do, like I said, is I take them and I allow them to see what they're actually capable of, and that where they are right now, typically the people I work with are around, close to 6 figures. Annual revenue or income, either employees or business owners, and I take and scale that And scale is a nice word. It sounds all buzzword, but basically I scale their personality, scale their identity, and allow them to have presence that they've never had before that attracts
Yeah.
the business and the opportunities that they've always wanted. And I do that, and my clients get ridiculous results. I'm so proud of them, to the point that most of my clients that I work with end up being partners in business.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So one of my clients who just extended for another 6 months, he's actually an equity partner in a business that we founded in America. You know, because he's so good at what he does, and I see I see that he can do what needs to get done.
Yeah.
And if you front load someone with a responsibility where you know that they can do it, but they might not know they can do it, that pushes them into a space that they are uncomfortable in, which is where they're going to grow. I had a CEO once tell me, when I took over that corporation, that British corporation, I had no idea what a P&L was, finances, financials, nothing, but I was running the whole damn thing. And I'm like, after 3 days, I'm like, well, I can't do this, Mark. I don't even know what I don't. And he said, just shut up, Stephen. If I see it in you, that means it's in you. Just embrace it.
That's right. That's right.
Like, damn. And I embraced it and I crushed it.
That's right.
I didn't think about it. I didn't try to be. I was. And so they can get, if anyone who's out there that needs that help, that needs to break through, I have a guarantee. If you're after it's a 3-month gig, it's 12 weeks, 1 hour a week. We have a Zoom call, and then we have in between WhatsApp chat group where we can chat.
Repeat that again, because you're going fast, and they're taking these notes. I want to make sure they get it.
So we have a Zoom call every week for 12 weeks. In between, we have the WhatsApp chat, you and I, and you can chat and call me 24/7. I pick up or I write back immediately. I solve your problems. I help you get through. And those who want to do that and want to work with me and sort of expand their entire life, just write me at Stephen@humblealpha.com. Stephen@humblealpha.com. And you're going to say, hey, Tanya, I see Tanya just showed up. Tanya Brewer.
Yeah, Tangi's out there too. Tangi. Oh, yeah, Tangi, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
I see Samuel Jimenez, guy I was in a war with. He was there too. He was watching.
A soldier as well.
Yeah. So it's always an honor to be here, brother. It's always great to see you. I can't wait to see you.
Is that right? Did I get that right? The email right there on the screen? Stephen@humblealpha.com.
Yes, sir. That's it. Good to go.
Perfect.
And so, yeah, I appreciate you bringing me on today. We could have gone on much longer. Yeah. I wish we could go on much longer.
No, we got things to do. We're busy men. Listen, any final closing words from you, brother?
Yeah, look, the number one secret to success for anybody I've ever met, it's ultra successful, is this: ask for help. That's it.
I love you, man. Get out of here. I know you got things to do. Let's catch up later. I'll get the video link and we'll do all the other business stuff we need to do for this. I appreciate you. Men, 25 to 35. Hell, if you're over 35 and you still need help, he just said, ask for help.
There you go.
I love you, man.
Love you too, man.
Thanks so much. Don't worry about talking right now. I know you're in the middle of something. We'll chat. I'll wrap this up.
All right, brother. Ciao.
All right, man. Ciao.
Ciao.
Well, Stephen E. Kuhn. I don't know. If you didn't take away truth, possibility, and see a way for yourself through the chaos that your life may encounter, embrace, look like right now, then watch it again. Just watch it again. I am super grateful for having had that moment with Stephen. Again, if you're interested in connecting with him, there's his email address, particularly if you are 25 to 35, you're a male and you're looking to grow something, you're looking to transform who you are, this is for you. Or maybe you want to sponsor a male who is right in that stage. And you know, after listening to Stephen, if only they had Stephen, you can offer that to them. My name is Marquise Martin Hayes. It has been my honor once again to host, to share, to impact, and to provide value to you, because at the end of the day, I need you to be visible. Peace.